Greninja.
Some warriors fight boldly, charging head-on into battle to meet whatever challenge lies ahead of them. Others are more calculated tacticians, devising masterful strategies to trap their opponents into unwinnable situations. Today's fighter falls somewhere in the middle, sticking to the shadows and using the darkness as his ally. Greninja, the ninja Pokemon. Real creative on the name there, guys. Hailing from the French-inspired Kalos region, Greninja moves with the speed and grace of a ninja through the battlefield, as he slices and cuts his enemies with sharp shurikens and blades of compressed water. His preferred method of attack, though, especially under the guidance of a skilled trainer, is to keep his distance and slowly whittle down his opponents until he gets an opening for a lethal strike. And, as a Water-type Pokemon, he has a lot of different options to pull from in combat. His signature attacks are his Water Shuriken and Mat Block. The Water Shuriken fires a compressed star of water, capable of creating powerful explosions, while the Mat Block, on the other hand, pulls a tatami mat from the floor to block incoming damage. When Greninja combines these with some of his other favorite techniques, such as the disorienting double team or the dangerous aerial ace, he becomes a true threat at close range. But just like seems to be the pattern with every Pokemon we've talked about, it does get weirder. While up close, Greninja can lick his opponents with his tongue scarf to hurt and potentially paralyze them. And that is super gross. But he can also use his power-up punch to raise his attack stat, punch with Ice Punch to potentially freeze his opponents, or squeeze them nice and tight with Grass Knot. As we said earlier, Greninja thrives on the element of surprise, and he has a variety of moves to help him get the drop on his opponent, both figuratively and literally, with moves such as Rock Slide, which summons literal boulders to crush his opponents. But the true trickery from Greninja comes from when he sneaks behind his opponents with Shadow Sneak for a surprise attack, or somehow creates a pool of water to use on land for a dive attack. And while he's at it, he can also use moves like Thief to steal whatever his opponent's holding. But he's not just dangerous in close quarters. He can still do some serious damage while at range to his opponents. He has a variety of water-based moves, which come with a variety of effects that sound like they're being read straight out of a medical commercial. He can cause burning, confusion, and just generally slow his opponents down. If Greninja wants to let out some truly devastating power, though, he can use massive beams of energy like Hyper Beam or Hydro Pump, a massive stream of pulsating water that looks like me after drinking a big gulp from 7-Eleven. And he can push this water power even further with the item that he'll be holding for today's battle, Mystic Water, which increases the power of his water-type moves by 20%. Greninja isn't all about attacking, though. On the more strategic side of things, Greninja can shroud his enemies in smoke, make illusory copies of himself, or even throw out toxic spikes that severely poison whoever they touch, and, unless cured, will kill their targets in a matter of seconds. Pokemon Poison is nothing to mess around with. Now, I've gone over a lot of different moves that Greninja can use, but he's no slouch even without these. He's strong enough to send heavy metal-type Pokemon flying to the ground with a single kick, cut through stone with ease, and even fragment this giant block of ice which he was encased in. He's also durable enough to shrug off flamethrowers and survive this powerful Z move that resembles a black hole. And this thing was capable of tearing apart a boulder like it was nothing. But durability aside, Greninja is also extremely fast. One of his most impressive displays is seen here, where he cuts this log 8 times in a single frame. Or here, where he moves fast enough to make rain appear like it's slowed down. Now, strength, durability, and speed are all really standard things for versus battles, there's no surprises here. But perhaps one of Greninja's most subtle advantages is his combat experience. By the time a Greninja reaches max level, they've likely had hundreds if not thousands of one-on-one battles against a wide variety of opponents. These battles all require thinking on your feet and adapting to situations, and they add up to give Greninja a history full of defeating powerful and strange opponents, especially when under the guidance of a skilled trainer like he will be in today's battle. But even without trainers, through the shadows and rain, Greninja's always prepared with tricks up his sleeve to make sure that his opponents are only one strike away from their end. Now let's see how he compares to his opponent today, Diddy Kong.
Obtenez le taux de remise le plus élevé sur l'épicerie au Canada. De plus, obtenez un taux de remise allant jusqu'à 10% sur tout.
Diddy Kong!
On the calm shores of Congo Bongo Island is a cabin that houses two of Nintendo's most adventurous, spirited heroes. Most people will recognize Donkey Kong as the bigger, faster, and stronger of the two. But his long-established second half and nephew, Diddy Kong, often doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. Diddy Kong is one of the most musical and happy primates you'll ever meet. And as the most nimble and agile member of the Kong family, Diddy has been a key player in defeating the evil King K. Rool and his army of Kremlings time after time. As a monkey, or chimp, Okay. He's been described by his designer as a chimney. Of course, how could I forget? As a chimney, most of Diddy Kong's fighting experience is in the jungle and countryside near his home. He's fought through the tropics, underwater, and through volcanoes alongside his lifelong friends, the Kong family. Despite typically adventuring with these friends though, Diddy Kong is more than capable of holding his own in combat. Not only has he fought his way through hordes of enemies in the jungles, but he's also strong enough to shatter huge blocks of stone and ice with a swing from his hammer. But perhaps his most surprising strength of all comes from his most trusted weapon, peanuts. No, seriously, Diddy Kong carries around a gun specifically designed to shoot out peanuts called the Peanut Pop Gun. And for firing a ballpark snack, these things are capable of some serious damage. Not only can they match the swing of his hammer's power by destroying blocks, but they can also cause miniature earthquakes by being fired into the ground and destroying pirate ships with the shockwaves of sound from them being fired. And these things are dang fast too. They shoot out at around 70 miles per hour, which is faster than the speed limit of most areas for cars in the United States. Fast peanuts aside though, Diddy's able to take advantage of this projectile power with some surprising mobility. In combat, Diddy Kong has been seen maneuvering through cannonballs and barrels being launched at him by King K. Rool, but he's also been able to use his barrel jetpack to fly to space in just a matter of a few seconds. But besides peanuts and barrels of monkeys, Diddy Kong also has grenades shaped like oranges, a flamethrower, and an electric guitar which he uses for sound-based attacks, such as the Guitar Gazump, a guitar solo that takes out all weak enemies within its range. But one of his biggest advantages don't come from fruit-shaped explosives or instruments that hurt your ears. Rather, Diddy Kong has access to several invincibility potions, which can make him completely untouchable for 10 seconds. From his random items to his physicality, Diddy Kong isn't your average helpless chimney. He can carry around the massive Donkey Kong with ease, shake a plane so violently that it falls apart, and send this giant seal away with just a couple of slaps. He can also take a surprising amount of damage for such a small chimney. He's survived explosions, being launched through walls, and has taken hits from giant flaming meteors falling from the sky next to a giant crocodile. I say the weirdest sentences for work, oh my gosh. At the end of the day, it's pretty apparent that Diddy is more than just your average monkey. He loves adventuring, having fun, and isn't afraid to dish out some damage when needed. He can fly real high with his jetpack on, and with his pistols out, this is one tough Kong. Now that we have both of our fighters analyzed, it's time for our fight. But first, Smash Bracket has just a couple of days left on our Kickstarter to fund our sister series, Super Smackdown. You can see the first episode available right now, Bill Cipher vs. Sephiroth. We're letting anyone who donates $15 or more to the Kickstarter vote on a matchup of their choice among all the other voters to be turned into an actual episode. And we also have one spot remaining at the highest tier for someone to choose an episode all of their own. If that interests you or you want to support the series, go check And there you go! Diddy Kong was a formidable fighter with several powerful items and weapons, but Greninja just had a way around everything that Diddy could throw at him. Diddy's most dangerous attack was his Peanut Pop Gun. This thing was capable of shooting shots powerful enough to break these boats from a good distance away. When calculating for the size of these boats and their distance from Diddy, that means he was hitting with the intensity of 8.73 gigawatts per centimeter squared. To put that in context, that's nearly the power that it takes to launch a space shuttle put behind the size of a peanut shooting 70 miles per hour. When we compare this to Greninja's best durability feat, surviving the move Black Hole Eclipse in gameplay, Greninja's only been seen to withstand 1.47 gigawatts per centimeter squared, which is nearly 6 times less than Diddy's maximum output. While it's important to note that the Z move only did about a fourth of Greninja's maximum health, these pop guns are a serious threat to Greninja, especially since his normal attack-lowering moves likely wouldn't have an effect on inanimate objects like a pop gun. Just 1 or 2 solid shots from this would be all it takes to do Greninja in for good. So if Diddy could threaten near instant knockouts, why didn't he take the victory and come out on top? Well, let's take a look at some of Greninja's best stats. His best show of strength happens here, where he fragmented this giant block of ice in the anime. By comparing the ice to Greninja's height, we can find that this required the attack intensity of about 125 megawatts per centimeter squared, which is way more power than even the most powerful engines in the world. And that's being put up against Diddy Kong's best durability feat, taking giant meteors to the face while fighting giant King K. Rool. By doing the numbers here, Diddy Kong is coming in at nearly 50 times less than what would be required to survive Greninja's strongest attack. Now, Diddy has been seen crashing into this asteroid-sized moon, which sends it falling to Earth and then bouncing back up. But even if we were to ignore all of the weird physics here and do the math anyways, the kind of force required to do this would be over 6 billion times more than anything else that Diddy's ever demonstrated. If we were to keep this feat, it would make every other appearance that Diddy Kong has ever been in feel like a giant anti-feat that works against him. And this clearly isn't the level that Diddy Kong is normally operating at and should be treated as an outlier that was played off for a gag, especially with the weird physics here. A single display in a comedic scene that can also be done by other characters isn't enough justification to bump up a character by 6 billion%. So this leaves us with 2 fighters capable of taking each other out with a single well-placed attack. And with both having lethal attack power, this battle came down to 2 things: speed and strategy. Diddy Kong was capable of blasting to space in just a couple of seconds with his jetpack, but he's never shown the ability to use the same kind of speed while maneuvering around in combat. Flying in a straight line and actively maneuvering while fighting are 2 very different skills. His best show of usable combat speed occurred in his fight with King K. Rool, where he maneuvered around K. Rool's attacks at roughly 29 miles per hour. Contrast this to Greninja, who is capable of slicing 8 times in a single frame, putting a striking speed at over 50 miles per hour. And he's also maneuvered fast enough to make rain appear like it's slowed down mid-combat. Now, this could require a range of speeds, but we can average it to being around 900 miles per hour. This is way faster than Diddy Kong, and even faster than his peanut popper shots. But not only was Greninja way faster, he was also much more experienced with the one-on-one combat required in fights like this, and he had several options to get a strategic advantage on his opponent, such as Smokescreen or Double Team. He could also block several of Diddy Kong's attacks with moves like Substitute, Protect, or Mind Reader, which allows him to read the future of Diddy Kong's actions. But all of this speed and strategy would be meaningless if he couldn't hit past Diddy Kong's invincibility. Unfortunately for Diddy though, Greninja had the exact move that he needed, Thief, in order to take these items and use them for himself. Ultimately, this was a highly debatable fight, and it likely wouldn't play out the exact same way each time they competed. But due to Greninja's speed, experience, and unique abilities, we believe that he takes it a majority of the time. Greninja is the winner and will be moving on to the next round of the Smash Bracket. Next time on the Smash